Cool. So I am with Evan Boone of Three Springs Farm in Culpeper County, Virginia. Is that where you guys are at?
Madison County.
Madison.
Yeah,
Okay. Tell us,
close to Culpeper.
close to Culpeper. That's right.
Yeah.
Tell us more about your operation, your family, your cows, your pigs, all of that.
Yeah, so my wife and I, Karen Boone, we run Three Springs Farm. We kind of got into this for a lot of different reasons. We kind of fell into it. I had like some gut health issues going on and just kind of wanted to know a little bit more about my food and stuff like that. So we bought 5 acres here in Madison after the military and was planning on raising just a lot of food for myself and maybe some friends or something. And then kind of like fell in love with it, always liked the idea of farming. But it was never like a viable income source for us. So just kind of rolled with that. We got some chickens, put them out on pasture, read some Joel Salatin books, read some books from some other people, a lot of Greg Judy, the normal stuff everybody kind of runs around and reads. So and started to think, well, we're going to have a little excess here. We bought 3 cows from a neighbor down the road. We had the chickens, we had egg layers, we had broilers. We're like, let's just see how this goes. So that we had extra beef, and I really liked raising the cattle. And so we signed up for a farmer's market in Culpeper. So kind of that might be where the confusion came in.
Yeah.
So signed up for the Culpeper farmer's market, did half a season. It did extremely well. Like loved it. Loved talking to the customers, loved meeting the people. And, so it was kind of weird for Karen and I, a lot of people kind of get into farming thinking, well, I have this love of animals. Well, we didn't really have that. We didn't have this huge love of farming or I love the land. We've always been, my wife and I rock climbed and hiked and everything all before all of this. So we love nature and the land, but like it wasn't really the animals and farming for us. It was actually people. We fell in love with the Culpeper Farmers Market, talking to people about how we raise stuff, how it's different, and how it's helped me, and how it's helped Karen. And then, you hear stories from other people as you're doing the market. Like, I love hearing, from people like how it's helping them, clean food to eat, that's raised in a way that's good for the animal, good for the land. And that's kind of where we went from there. So we wanted to figure out, we knew like our core values were going to be like good for the animal, good for the land, and good for the customer. So that's kind of the order we do it in. We're going to put animal welfare at the top. How we raise our animals if they have that one bad day, everybody talks about. And then the second thing is we want to make sure that we're taking care of the land where the next generation's not kind of screwed, So, and then the last thing, if we do those things well, we should have a good product. So, if we have a good product, people are going to go, oh, this ground beef's amazing, or this whatever is amazing, this pork's amazing. So that's kind of, that's in a nutshell how we kind of got started. We went, it's kind of just kept on growing from there. We're very thankful. My wife and I actually only own 5 acres. We lease the rest of our land, and it's kind of grown and grown and grown from that, So we have a cow-calf operation now. We have a meat herd of beef cattle. We do buy a few of those cattle from some other farmers that we know and trust kind of how they do things the same way. And then we do buy some piglets in, again, from a farmer that we've been partnered with. He's like our mentor when it comes to pigs. And then the sheep, my family had a little bit of a background in sheep, so they kind of helped us get started with that. We raised Katahdins. So been doing that for a while. But yeah, it's kind of morphed from that. It's kind of morphed from this desire to know where food's coming from to this whole big thing of like falling in love with the direct-to-consumer part. We're sitting in my store right now every day. It's a bummer the days that I don't get to see, my customers or talk to them or something like that. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Talk to me more about the human side. I think a lot of our farmers in the Commonwealth Network farm because they either like the animals or they're just nature lovers. And if they have to sit in the field watching the butterflies come in, you might as well be managing some cattle at the same time. Cattle, sheep, goats, pigs, chickens, whatever. talk to me more about that human connection. What about like providing nourishment or talking to local consumers or having that relationship, really means a lot to you?
Yeah. So, I quickly learned, like, I'm a talker, a social person. So I quickly learned, like, as I've met other farmers and stuff, there's this like theme here. Most people that get into farming are kind of standoffish. They're not super outgoing. They don't like to, peddle their product down the road. They just want to raise it. And I think that's amazing. I think there's some people that raise amazing products that blow mine away sometimes. But sadly, they have a hard time getting that to a market or something like that. So, the people side is kind of where I've come in. We've been very fortunate to have this amazing group of customers that have really got behind us, and they're supportive during the slow times. They're supportive during we were talking about winter earlier. During the hard times, they've been extremely supportive, and it's like this community of people right around us that have kind of just come alongside. And they're looking for a product. We have, I'd say, majority of my customers have some sort of like stomach ailment that's happened in their life, whether it's gone or it's still there. So they're similar to me in that way, where like they want to eat a good protein source, but it's like they were defeated for a really long time. I have a lot of like former vegans, vegetarians, things like that. And it wasn't really like the animal side of that. A little bit of that was like they not like to know how we take care of animals is a better way. But like most of them, it was actually like, I'm eating meat from the grocery store and it's making me sick. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I want meat so bad, but it's just, I can't eat it. And, I've had people at the farmer's market, they come up and they're like in tears. They're like, I took some of your ground beef home and it's the first bit of ground beef that I've been able to stomach in a while, and they're having to work back on it, especially red meat. But, that's the thing is like, when you hear those things, it kind of energizes you to raise those animals in a way where that's always kind of in your mind, like when I'm out there in the field and I'm trying to make a decision, that's got to be in my mind. It's like, at the end of the day, those customers are counting on some kind of protein source, for them to continue eating. And, and people get to where they just they don't ask questions anymore. In the beginning, you have those people, they're asking tons of questions. They want to be educated about where their meat's coming from. But at some point, they kind of change over to, hey, I just trust the way these people are doing it. If they say it's good, then it's the right way to do it. And so we've been really thankful for that. But yeah, the people side for us is like the driving factor. How can we get our meat to more people that are looking for a cleaner source of protein in their life?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I don't know. I've been in your fields with you, and I've been to a lot of farms, and I know a lot of farms, and there's a lot of people in this space, in the commons provisions, online food delivered, sort of space, that are purchasing meats from big farms that really feel more like production engines or manufacturing, plants, where they're just trying to produce the fastest beef possible. How fast can get these animals to weight? How fast can you bring, yearling steers in or wean steers in to finish them out on pasture, or maybe it's a feedlot or something else. But they're thinking of profit. They're thinking of moving as much meat as possible, getting trailers filled, etc. And I think what a lot of consumers don't understand is that there's farms in our community like yourself, when you are standing in your fields, not only probably your fields are much more ecologically regenerative, but like your mind is literally thinking about your farmers markets, customers and your neighbors and the food that they're eating, and their faces are in your head. And you're thinking about, their health and their problems, and you're thinking about them, not necessarily how fast can I get this steer fattened so that I can make a buck and turn it around and do it again. Like, obviously that matters.
Yeah.
Right? It obviously has some portion of the pie there. But I think a lot of people think that when they support local, or that farmers feed, their community, they support that community. Like, farmers feed us, they support us. Like, that phrase is all over the place. But I think it's really healthy for consumers to like listen to what you're saying and realize that it's a two-way street. Like, you're thinking of their problems, and you're also helping solve those problems, but they need to participate in that same system too.
Yeah. And on the other side of the spectrum, we talked about the animals and the consumer part, but like we also, like I said, we lease majority of our land. As far as like land care, I mean, I have people that I've leased from now. I'm coming up on like 4 years, and they are like, they had that background of like, hey, my family farmed before. I want to keep the land, but I don't want to farm. And they are like just so appreciative to see someone out there like truly improving their property. Like I have people that they come up and they're, so that's the thing is like, that's a whole nother spectrum of that community. We have this huge source of people right now that, okay, I don't want to farm, or I had a bad experience from my family farming, which is really sad if you think about it. But I don't want to lose my family's land. So it's like, okay, we're leasing that property. We're trying to build soil. We're trying to take better care of their property. We're trying to, put time and sweat and energy into something that they have and they want to see taken care of. So that's like that whole other side where, not only are we trying to take care of the animal and the consumer part, but now we're like partnered with all these landowners that, they really want to see. I mean, I live right down the street from a lot of these people. So, at the end of the day, if it's their whole farm's eroding away, does it really look good in the county? Does it look good to me to pass that every day? Honestly, it breaks my heart to see farms like that. So it's like, it's really great to see farms that I've admired. And we actually leased a farm this year that I've admired from a distance for a while. And, was heartbroken watching it just years and years degrade. And now I'm like energized being there to lease it, and the landowners come up to me multiple times and just been like so thankful, like just to see somebody really trying to take care of it. They have no intention of getting rid of it, but they want to see it taken care of, and they want it to stay. They want to stay right here in this community. I mean, I live in a small county, so, but they don't want to farm. So what do you do with that? So again, it's been really good. It's like a twofold thing. We have the customers and we have these landowners that we've been really able to build some good relationships with.
Yeah, and the meat tastes amazing, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean, I've had it. We've got to retail it. We've had the blessing of doing that at Commons, and we've gotten awesome response. So, the land is good, the people are good, the meat is good. It seems like it's a very holistic solution to providing nourishment locally. What I don't know if you have an answer to this, but you've been farming for a while now. Like, what's a hurdle? Or maybe a surprise, good or bad, that you've experienced on the farm that you would want to share?
The hard thing for like first generation farmer, kind of like myself, that land part's hard, and that's come a little bit easier for me than some people. I didn't tell people, don't get discouraged by that. Get out and talk to people. But I'd say the biggest hurdle has just been honestly like the capital part. Livestock farming in general is this extremely capital intensive, equipment intensive, and we are like, I'm on like when it, commercial farm equipment is like way up here. I'm down here, and it's still like I'm struggling to, maintain. But it's like at the end of the day, there's just stuff you need sometimes. A 1,500-pound animal, take a mama cow, you got to be able to pin her up at some point, so that's a corral or it's whatever, corral panels, Okay, well, I have to be able to take that product to the market when I need to take it to the slaughterhouse whenever I need to take it. So I need that corral. Oh, and by the way, I need a truck, I need a trailer. And in today's world, that stuff just costs more and more and more. And so, input cost on a farm is just really hard. And then, fencing and portable fencing. I mean, I can't tell you how much money we have in polywire and step-in posts. I mean, I bet you there's like 3,000 step-in posts outside of my barn, and it's just, when we get in the peak of it, I mean, there's just miles and miles of polywire stretched all over. So, that's probably been the hardest to, how do you grow and keep your customers aware of, hey, I'm growing as fast as I can to meet your demand, but ultimately I have some costs I have to absorb,
Right.
So that's probably been the biggest challenge.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I think it goes back to what you said earlier about like the relationship between the farmer and the consumer. Like the closer that is, and the more that I think the consumer understands that like farming is an everyday, and sometimes it's a very painful day, type reality. That like, showing up and shaking our hands is great, but showing up consistently and utilizing, these farms as a consistent source of product it helps you scale. It helps you understand, your risks and when the money and cash flow is coming in and how it comes in. And there's a lot to farming. Like, I think business in general is hard. Like, that was something I feel like in my maturity that, as I matured in life and started doing things that, like, I was surprised with, like how hard it is to run a business, and a farm is absolutely a business. But like understanding that cash flow, like, to me is just, it's hard. How do you scale? How do you have the consumer scale with you? How do you do it in a way that helps the consumer, but also keeps the land first and the ethics first and the morals first? And, you do it in a way that's not stressful to humans or the animals or the land. It's definitely difficult. I think there's a lot of farmers.
It's a balancing act, for sure, balancing. So, it's like, you gotta balance everything, Unfortunately, like, we'd all love to say, like, those people that we were talking about, that they do an amazing job raising animals. And in a perfect world, I believe those people should be rewarded. They should get a top dollar for their product. And it's sad to say that, like, you gotta, right now, this is just what we gotta do. I gotta be everything. I gotta be the retailer. I gotta be the customer service rep. I gotta be the farmer and the planner, and then, the land, deal with the customers, is also dealing with landowners, all that stuff. So, it's just kind of where we're at. It's nice that customers understand that. And I think, we found majority of ours really understand that, and they appreciate that through that relationship and that conversation. They come here in my store, and that's things that come up. Hey, how's your day going? I'm pretty honest. I'm an honest person most of the time. So, that's I share that stuff with them.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Well, what else? Anything else on your mind that you would like to share?
No, I mean, the biggest thing is just, get people to know, I'm a big believer in, like that talking to your farmer and asking the right questions is really important. That you and I have talked before, there's a lot of like greenwashing going on right now. And so, like, I'm never going to bash anybody. I'm never going to bash another farmer, but, find somebody, like Commons, where they're verifying that people are trying to do things the best they can, find something like that you can kind of latch onto, not just that like local feel or that farmer, down the road, kind of ask those questions. What are you doing for the environment? What are you doing for animal health? Or, those things. And we found our customers do that. So like, it's encouraging to see more and more people, but, I hope that, like local farms are more important now than they've probably ever been. We've seen now, like, supply chain stuff, it's still a struggle. It's still, there's still food shortages and things like that. And we saw during COVID how big of a deal local farms are. So like, make sure you're asking those questions. And if you find somebody that matches up with what you're looking for, support them, get out there. I tell people all the time, my customers are better people than I am, because they go out and they're really seeking out like how to come to my store, how to buy from my online website, instead of just saying, I'm just going to go to the grocery store every day.
Right.
So,
what's, if I can put the pressure on you, what's like a question or two that you think the consumer should be asking? Like, there's probably 100 that you can come up with, but like, what are one or two questions the consumer can learn to ask better about their food suppliers or their farmers?
Like you said, there's a lot of things you can ask. A big one for me is like, how are you taking care of the land? There's always this like, oh, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Find out if somebody's really trying to prevent that erosion. Again, I'm not saying any farmer is going to be perfect at it all the time. I'm definitely not perfect at it all the time. But when you ask them those questions, are they actively telling you with excitement, like, well, I'm trying this thing, and this is going really well for us? Or are they rotationally grazing? Are there animals, being fed in a bunk feeder on the side of a fence? Are they feeding bunches of grain? Ask these kind of questions. If you're looking for, let's be real, cattle have this amazing ability to eat nothing but grass and produce hundreds and hundreds of pounds of meat. So like, ask them those questions. What are you feeding? What's your finish process like? Are they out in pasture, or are you putting them in a feedlot, or things like that? That's a big question. Like, what are they doing to take care of the land, and how are they taking care of the animal? Pigs especially. I mean, let's be real. Majority of pigs in the United States are raised in a barn.
Right.
Is that necessarily great for them? No, not really. I mean, we see the problems with that now. But, what are they doing? I know friends that they mix and match. They're in a barn for a really bad part of the year, and then the rest of the year they're out roaming pasture. We have a friend that they raise like 1,500 pigs a year on pasture. Been doing it since before barns were cool, so, ask those questions. Ask, you don't have to know a ton about farming. I get customers all the time that blow me away with questions they ask. So, but yeah, the big thing I'd say is ask them how they're taking care of the land and how are they taking care of the animal. What are they doing to put the animal, you know, make it comfortable ultimately and take care of it in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. Marvelous questions. Thank you. I think we have to help the consumer be comfortable to ask the right questions and knowledgeable enough to know, like, one, what questions to ask, and also two, like, when to see greenwashing. You know, like, there's a lot of farmers, as you know, that put cows on grass. Almost every cow in the state of Virginia sees grass at some point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, are your cows grass fed? No, wrong question. What is your system and why? Like, that's a much better question. Or what is your finishing protocol? Like you were saying, like,
Yeah.
all cows start on grass or grass like stuff,
Yeah.
dirt with a little bit of grass in it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Most cows, I should say, start on grass. And so, no, that's really helpful. Well, thanks, Evan.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time. I won't take too much more of it. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. It's been fun.